Well, the second African club has played its first match at the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup, and Esperance de Tunis fell victim to CR Flamengo from Brazil, losing 2-0 in Philadelphia. And I'm going to sort of cut to the chase already, but I think it was deserved. Now, before we actually go and break down the game, maybe just wanted to give you some insights from being here on the ground in Philadelphia. First thing, I want to take my hat off to both sets of supporters. There was an official capacity of 27,000 people at the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Of those 26 or 27,000, it felt like 23 or 24,000 were hardcore fans that never stopped singing for the entire 90 minutes. Very few casuals here. There's just a lot of passion, a lot of energy, a lot of singing, and a lot of good vibes. I think the first time that I was in the stadium with a South American club, club from Argentina or Brazil, and what I saw, I recognized. It's almost exactly like being in a stadium with a North African club. That kind of atmosphere, the singing, the organization, the organic energy. I just identified with it very quickly. I would even go even further and say that there's maybe one demarcating difference between the two sets of supporters and the way they support their clubs. The Brazilian fans, even though they had the same energy as the North African fans, I felt like there was a joy, like a happiness about the way they support their club, the way they celebrate their goals. Whereas sometimes I feel like with North African clubs, there's almost more tension, more nervous energy, more anger. Celebrating a goal can feel like you are releasing energy, can feel like catharsis, but not necessarily always in a good way. Like you could be screaming like ah. Whereas what I saw when the Brazilians scored, like I saw this cute couple in front of me, guy throwing his child in the air, hugging each other. I just felt like there was a little more joy in the way they watched their football, and I think that was nice to see. So, anyways, big hats off to both sets of supporters. And overall, I think if you've been watching the Club World Cup, if there's any sets of supporters that are that are carrying the Club World Cup, that are bringing the energy, that are excited for it, I think it's the South American and the North African fans. And credit to them again because they're coming, from thousands and thousands of kilometers away. These people at the stadium, many of them came directly from Brazil. A lot of them came directly from Tunisia as well. So I think when you think about, these aren't the richest countries in the world. People are, they're putting in their hard-earned money to go out to a tournament in its inaugural edition. We don't know if it's going to be a success or not. I can tell you that the United States is expensive compared to, some of the countries that have gone where I've had to cover tournaments. So people are putting in their hard-earned money to come out here and have a good time. And yeah, I think I just wanted to outline that before we talk about the actual match. The other thing before we talk about the actual match in terms of match day experience is it was really weird in that the stadium entertainment aspect of it was very American. So I got into the stadium like an hour ahead of time, which was also a little bit weird. I'm used to getting there, 5, 6 hours ahead of time. They like played the national anthem 50 minutes before kickoff, and nobody even like stood really. It was just weird. Like, why are you playing? I guess we're in America, but there's no American teams. Why are you playing the American national anthem? Yeah, it was very American the way they did that. The music that they were playing initially, for most of the warm-ups was like American pop or a little bit of hip hop as well. Instead of, just letting you don't always have to pump in music, that's the thing when you go to a sporting event in the United States of America or even in Canada, it's just every single little dead space is filled in with music or some kind of competition. Uh, there's just no like breathability, and it's very different to, from my experience of going to football matches. Sometimes it's nice to have those dead times, where everybody can take a deep breath and you could just observe what's going on around you. But no, like every 3 minutes, the stadium announcer, "Are you ready? Let's make some noise." It's just very American in that sense. So that was a little bit, it was a little bit weird, and they're trying to like They're trying to say, "Are you ready? Let's make some noise" to the ultra groups that are sitting behind the Esperance goal. If you know anything about ultra groups, they're not gonna vibe with the stadium announcer. They think that's corny. They're just gonna beat march to the beat of their own drum, so to speak. Um, so yeah, that was that was also quite funny. And then even I think you saw this on the broadcast, but the starting lineups, like the players walk out of this tunnel with like fog machines, and it's just all very American, and they put a lot into the sports entertainment, the entertainment aspect of it, which again is not necessarily we're not used to that, and I think in a lot of countries when it comes to football. Anyways, all of that aside, let's talk about the match. Match kicks off after a 10, 9, 8, 7. But I guess FIFA did that in other tournaments as well. And immediately Esperance de Tunis was sitting back. And I'll tell you, the first 10 minutes, I was thinking of there's a guy that tweets called CAF Champions League Gazette, and he posted on Twitter the other day. I thought it was a very good point, a very salient point. Something along the lines of, um, you know, because the home and away format in the African Champions League is so drastic, and we see these North African clubs when they go away, they try to really defend. They don't really work on trying to hold on to possession of the ball and trying to, when it's tough, trying to win possession of the ball, trying to break a press. They're more focused on defending, defending, defending. And as a result, they waste, one out of those two matches. And that's an opportunity in one of those two matches to try and hang on to the ball and play possession. So I was thinking, like, immediately, man, North Africans were too used to playing not negative football, let's call it reactive football. Um, so that was one thing immediately that caught my mind. It was we're falling into this pattern already of sitting back, and it wasn't really working. That was the problem. The first 20 minutes, Flamengo were doing a great job of getting, especially the right fullback number 2. I don't know his name, getting him as wide as possible. But they had like the two center halves. They had the defensive midfield drop a little bit, and then the midfield just got very wide, very spread out. So on both sides, they created a lot of width. The fullbacks were hugging the touch lines, and the midfielders. This is something I think when you're in the stadium, you kind of have an appreciation for a player like Jorginho. When you watch him on TV when he was at Chelsea and stuff, sometimes he's criticized for just passing sideways and backwards. But him and Gerson, who I watched a lot at Marseille as well, the captain for Flamengo, used to play at Olympique de Marseille, you just get an appreciation for their intelligence. So when their own defenders have the ball, how they find space in midfield, and then just the little things of always making, you know, controlling the ball in the right way, directional control, putting enough weight on the passes, just very intelligent, very technically proficient midfield. And how they were hurting Esperance was they were getting wide, and Esperance's wide players, they started the match with a 4-3-3 with Yansas, the Brazilian, on the right wing, and Youssef Belali, the Algerian, on the left wing. Those two players, they don't like to defend. So immediately, the fullbacks were dropping in behind Esperance's wingers, and Esperance's wingers just like had to go back and forth and back and forth. And Youssef Belali, by the 10th minute, was limping already. And that's one thing that, I mean, he needs to work on his physical condition. But he's at a point now where I'm going to make an exaggerated comparison and talk about Lionel Messi. Obviously, Youssef Beledi is not Lionel Messi, but he's one of those players where he doesn't want to track back. And if he tracks back, he's not going to last 90 minutes. He's going to last 50, 65 minutes. And so it's one of those players where if you think you need him and if you're going to rely on him to create attacking opportunities, you need somebody else to track back for him. I think Esperance came into this match maybe not understanding that, maybe underestimating Flamengo's dominance on the ball, asking Benedi to track back, and it just wasn't working. He wasn't doing it. He was passing off his man to either the left fullback Mohamed Amin bin Hamida, or maybe sometimes the central midfielder, and Flamengo were just poking holes through it time and time and time again. There was a statistic that actually came up on the board, I think with 10 minutes to go in the first half, where it says entry passes into the final third, and it's a Flamengo statistic going at Esperance. 14 through the middle, 14 on the right side, and then just 3 on the left side. So they were quite clearly favoring that Beledi wing and just getting the ball past him best because he wasn't tracking back. And eventually the first goal comes from there, comes from that wing. Ball gets out wide, cross over the top. I think we're in the 20th minute of it here. A header back, and then that number 10 player, who, by the way, elicited the biggest cheers for Flamengo. So that always means something to me. Georgian D. Arasqueta, something like that. He scores the first goal, and it was coming. I think anybody that watched the first 20 minutes, you could see that Esperance were not balanced. They were not well organized defensively, and Flamengo were quite clearly just dominating. Um, Other notes that I have here: Rodrigo Rodriguez, the Brazilian striker from Esperance, I thought was fighting well early on in the match, winning some aerial duels, holding up play decently. Um, Yeah, what else do I have here? Flamengo, after scoring, nearly added a second, just a few seconds after. Um, and Esperance really didn't have an answer. Here's where I'm going to credit the coach, Maher Mezahi from Esperance de Tunis, because around the 25th to 30th minute, and here's one, if you can go back and watch the match, which you can on the zone, for example, go back and just watch how Beledi is defending in the first 20 minutes, and then from minute 30 to 45. Maher Mezahi, the coach, makes an adjustment, and Beledi, instead of having to track back and cover that right fullback that's in ultra attacking mode, Beledi starts coming more central, almost as like a second striker, or sometimes when defending, even coming up to the attacking striker position, and he would pass off his man to the attacking midfielder or the central attacking midfielder, Shihab Jbeli. So Shihab Jbeli would actually have to go and cover Yusuf Beledi's man. So, um, or sometimes it would be Anuche Ogbelu, sometimes it would be the fullback. So, for example, sometimes when Beledi early on in the match was a left winger, he would just cut back and take on midfielder, and he would tell the fullback to push out wide and cover the opposing fullback. So I'm talking a lot about this, but it was really important because you could see that Esperance was not defensively balanced in the first 20 minutes because their wingers were lazy or not fit enough. And then when they make that adjustment, all of a sudden Esperance looks a lot better at the end of the first half, and they look a lot better throughout the rest of the match. Really, when we talk defensively speaking, strictly. The only real chance Esperance had in the first half came from a long ball. I think it came from Hamid Amin Tugai over the top to Belali, who ends up holding the ball up well. Pass, pass, pass. Ball comes to Rodrigo Rodriguez, who his shot is blocked, and that was the first real shot for Esperance de Tunis. And immediately, by the way, Flamengo countered, so they showed their danger, how dangerous they could be vertically when Esperance attack. So yeah, it was a good finish to the first half for Esperance, but overall, and this is relevant to the first half and to the entire 90 minutes, anybody that watched that match could see that Flamengo were a step ahead. They were better tactically, they were better technically. You could tell that they are in good form. You could tell the players understand one another. Um, Very intelligent midfielders. And when you're going up against a team that's better than you tactically and technically, and they're in good form, how can you win that match? The only way you can really win is you have to be very opportunistic. When you get a half chance, you have to try and convert it. You have to defend like your life depends on it, and you can't make mistakes. And I think if Flamengo played against Esperance 10 times, Flamengo's going to win 8 times out of 10. And maybe they're going to draw one, and maybe Esperance is going to win one. There's a gulf in class between the two sides, and it was clear for everybody to see, in my opinion. Um, but still, I like the substitutions. I like the adjustment from the Esperance coach. We start the second half. He brings on Abdurrahman Konate, and he brings on Elias Makwana. So 2 players that are going to run more than Jensas, defend better than Jensas, and he lets Yusuf Beledi again. Just he tells him, okay, you don't defend, okay, just stay up there, counterattack. And Yusuf Beledi was very good on the counterattack today. He created 4 or 5 chances for Esperance on the counterattack, even though he could have been a little more clinical on a few of them, and maybe even unselfish on a few of them in the second half. But again, I like that adjustment from Maher Mezahi. Um, Eventually, I think around the 65th, 70th minute, Flamengo scored their second goal, and it's one of those where um, the ball goes from one side of the pitch to the other. Esperance are moving and trying to defend that side of the pitch, but there's just a lack of communication. The entry pass comes in one time very quickly, and it's just a beautiful curling effort. So, um, again, wasn't really a surprise to anybody. I think you could even see the reaction by the end of the match. Esperance fans were applauding their team. The players were like, you know what? They showed fight. They showed heart. I think they played just about as well as I could have expected them to. again, they were just beaten by a better team today. So they're going to have to do better against Chelsea and definitely LAFC, or against and definitely Chelsea, LAFC and definitely Chelsea. But um, they weren't disgraced. I thought Esperance put up a good fight, but again, just a difference in class. Overall, some notes on some players. Big hats off to Oluchi Egbelu, the Nigerian midfielder. I've been saying during the CAF Champions League, man, Nigeria should use this guy. They have a lack of midfielders, in my opinion, and he's just all over the place. His activity was top notch today, getting stuck in. I would like to see how many balls he won in midfield. Uh, Again, can improve slightly. If he just improves his passing ability by 10, 20, 30%. He made some bad passes in his own half of the pitch at times. So if he can just improve his passes a little bit, I think he'll be playing in Europe. But I still think he could do a really good job for Nigeria. I think he was one of the best players for Esperance today. Elias Mukwana coming on and Adjoman Konate coming on did a very good job. I think they should. I don't understand why these players don't start. I don't understand why he insists with Jan Sass, but whatever. I'm not the coach. Esperance de Tunis played their captain, Yassine Maria. He came back for the first time in 8 or 9 months today. So that was nice to see him back. And man, he brought a lot of serenity in defense. Just great passing on the ball, good defending as well. And it really showed me what they were missing. I think if he stayed healthy this year, and if they invested in maybe a good striker, I would be ready to run back that prediction of Esperance de Tunis perhaps winning the CAF Champions League, especially with Okubelu developing the way he did. So yeah, Maria, good to have him back. Ben Hamid at left back played very well. Ogbelu played very well. Belali played well in that he had a huge amount of responsibility creating everything for Esperance de Tunis. But there's also a negative side to that. I think Esperance de Tunis, if you watch them, they have an over-dependence on Youssef Belali. Like, whenever they get to the final third of the pitch, he's the only one that's really trying to do anything. They're the only... And it's known, like, seems like everybody in the squad is like, all right, we're in the final third of the pitch, get the ball to Youssef Belali. And I just think there was a little bit of an over-dependence on him. And I understand depending on him because he's a class player, but just a little overdone. And at times, that's not good too. Then a few negative points. I thought Bashir bin Said, the goalkeeper, that was the worst distribution I've seen from a goalkeeper in the last 2-3 years. Every time that he had to clear the ball out, he would kick it straight to a Flamengo player. Like he even if he's trying to clear it, he wouldn't get it past the halfway line. His passing was atrocious, and he could have done better on both goals as well. So, not a good match for the experienced Tunisian goalkeeper Bashir bin Said. I thought Mohamed Ben Ali, the right back, was okay, not too great. Khalil Kenishi in midfield was a little bit invisible, overrun by the Flamengo midfield, unlike Oniche Egbelu. And then, yeah, the Brazilians, Jan Sass in particular, I thought was disappointing. Rodrigo Rodriguez started off the match okay, but didn't really impact it in the latter stages of this match. I thought Ashraf Jabri was better when he came on. But overall, like I said, I would give them like a 6.5, maybe even 7 out of 10. I mean, I don't know what more we could have expected from Esperance de Tunis. That's really my final line. So yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna get to editing the semblance of what I filmed as a vlog today. And I have a flight in exactly, I gotta be at the airport in 4 hours. It's 1 a.m. I have to be at the airport in 4 hours to fly to Orlando to watch Mamelodi Sundowns versus Ulsan. So hopefully when we're out there, gonna be seeing a few friends. And yeah, keep it locked in. I'm gonna preview Mamelodi Sundowns first for tomorrow, and then also recap the match as well. So yeah, hope you're enjoying the matches like me. Hope you're not as tired as me. And yeah, speak all very soon. Peace.